Welcome to BenSabers TV. I've got a new segment that I'm going to be doing on the channel, and that's going to be a retrospective review. At the moment, I'm doing quite a lot of tech reviews and insights into different techs like projectors and gaming handheld devices. But the other thing I have a great passion for is movies. Now, I'm not the best movie person in the world, but there's a lot of films out there that I always look back on throughout my life and just absolutely loved. And I feel I need to do a retrospective review on these ones, just because they're so great. I thought about, for the very first one, what should I pick? And you know what? I've decided to go with, obviously, 2021 MoonFall. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like the film. I know it didn't do very well at box office, but the out there sci-fi fiction of this is just so great. It is a guilty pleasure. I'm not saying it's a great film. There's a lot I would most probably change in this film, to be honest, if I had my way. I would love to have the chance to get the full film, edit the entire thing to my own liking, and relaunch it. And do that. But maybe one day I'll be able to do that. But yeah, a retrospective review on MoonFall 2021. This film, it had a really good cast. We had Hallie in there, who's been famous for Storm in the X-Men movies. We had Catwoman from her. We also had her in Bond. And she also did another great film, which I may do a retrospective review on, which is called Swordfish. That also starred Hugh Jackman and Jonathan Travolta. And Hugh Jackman's basically this super cool, awesome programmer, tech guy with computers that has to do this awesome piece of work. And it's a very good film, and I would like to watch that again soon, actually. So I may do a video review on that one. We also have Patrick Wilson. Now, he's not... I don't know if I'd say Patrick Wilson is really famous. He's very well known, but he's in a very niche industry when it comes to the movies. He's predominantly predominantly known for being in horror genre movies. So he's done a lot of the Insidious films. He's been in all the Conjuring franchise, and I particularly really enjoyed the Conjuring franchise. The last one wasn't particularly great, but there is another one coming out in September 2025, which I'm looking forward to, and believe is based on Annabelle. And he's also been in the two Annabelle movies as well. He was also in the first and second Aquaman movies, which I thought he was very good in that. It was nice to see him outside of his horror role genre and doing something different. We have a gentleman called John Bradley who plays K.C. Houseman. We have Michal Pena as Tom Lopez. And we also had, and I was very surprised to see this in the film, Donal Sutherland. He only has a very small part of the film, but it was great to see him in that role, and he did a fantastic job. He's got a really, really good voice and a very good on-screen presence whenever I see him. And I think he's just got better and better the older he has got. I remember seeing him for the very first time when I was about 10 years old in The Body Snatchers, and it was a great film, and it was really good. And I thought he was brilliant in that. And that was back in the 50s, 60s type of era. This film had a budget of 140 million. They did have to get a number of private backers to actually finance this film because not many studios actually would take it on, which is unusual. So the budget was 140 million. Worldwide box office gross, it was 44 million. So it did lose quite a lot, unfortunately. This film needed to make just under 300 million in the box office to break even. Unfortunately, it didn't do that. It lost about 200 million, just over 200 million, which is a shame because I do like this film. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. The interesting thing is that 44 million, if that were today, that would now be worth around 53 million. So it still wouldn't make a huge amount of difference. But, you know, it's just one of those things. So when it comes to the reviews, this film, it didn't do very well. He got a 35% from all the critics, and he got actually a 50% from all audiences. So it's not too bad. Just as a side note, Snow White, the Disney film that with Rachel Zegler, came out literally 1 week ago, and it's got like 1.2 in the box office, and I think the audience rating is 20ish, around that, for Rachel Zegler's Snow White. So it did better, much better than Snow White. Unfortunately, it didn't have Disney backing it, and if it did, I think it would have easily met its budget. Like Rachel Zegler's films done nearly 140 million. It's just one of those things. Life is what life is. So yeah, unfortunately, it didn't do too well. The runtime on this film is 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'll be completely honest, if they had reduced this from 2 hours and 10 minutes down to about an hour and a half, I think it would have been much better, to be honest. I'm going to go over the all the bits that I really liked about this film. So the film starts off really well. We get some great music. We get like the guy talking about space and that sort of thing in the early years, which was really good. I really like that. We then meet Brian Harper, who's been played by Patrick Wilson, and he's in space outside the space shuttle doing some work with his colleague on the satellite, and they're having an argument and singing along to The Rain's Down in Africa, which is quite funny, and they refer to him and Halle Berry, who plays Jacinda, as his work wife, which I quite liked. And it was going really well, and then out of the blue, this swarm just attacks them, destroys a satellite. One of the guys outside gets killed. He luckily is saved, and they get back to Earth. And then when we're back on Earth, we find that there's a video interview playing of Brian speaking with NASA and explaining what happened. And it's clear that they're framing him for what happened and making him an scapegoat. And then we just basically catch up with Brian. His life's kind of gone down the spiral because he's been let go from NASA. He's not really got a job. He's got an eviction notice, so he's running behind on money. And then this is when we get the first bit. We get his ex-wife phoning him up saying turn on channel 16. He turns it on and he's just looking at a police chase, and she goes, that's your son. This police chase ends and it shows a close-up of the driver, which was his just turned 18-year-old son, and it's just like, right, okay. You go to him being in court, and you got Brian trying to defend his son, making it worse, and then the son's lawyer, who's on a $50,000 retainer from his stepfather, basically turns around to the judge and says, look, we'll pay whatever you need to pay, money's no object. And I don't know if this would happen, but the judge turns around and goes, well, if the money's no object, then clearly he's a flight risk. He can stay in prison for a week and we'll reconvene in a week's time. And I'll be honest, at this point, the whole sub-story with the son, I just found it really boring. Throughout the film, we get lots of really great graphics of the sea raising up and washing over the land. We get to see buildings being sucked up due to the gravity and as the moon gets closer. So we get loads of visual aids telling us throughout the film how bad things are going. I don't think we need boots on the ground with the son and his pathetic effort to just get away from whatever's going on and just have no real... There's no storyline from it. He's just getting to the high ground and that's it. And it's really boring, and I really wish they just cut the whole thing out with the son, and it would have made the film much smoother, to be honest. But anyway, after the prison scene, we get Brian going to do a few things, and he meets Casey, who's trying to convince him the moon's going to fall. Why NASA doesn't know the moon's out of orbit, and this random Casey guy does, is never explained. But then we jump to NASA, and NASA's going, yeah, we've worked it out, the moon's going to hit Earth in 3 weeks' time. It's really bad. or it could be less than 3 weeks. We don't really know. Again, you'd think NASA would have a really clear indication of when it might happen, but they also say there's this gigantic hole in the moon. And I'm skipping along, not huge amounts really happens. We then get to where they launch a ship into orbit to go and check out the moon with a crew of 3. The crew of 3 are in orbit, and they launch a probe into this gigantic chasm that's now on the moon, and it goes down like 22 yards. It goes really deep, and then just stops, and then starts shooting back out. And that's when we get our first really good look at this swarm, as they put it. And it basically destroys the ship, but also kills each of the pilots in the capsule in quite a gruesome way. It's all like smashes their heads to bits, which is a bit gruesome. But then after that, we get this lovely shot of the sea or the ocean that's raised up quite a bit. It's just washing across normal land, and it looks really epic. But we then meet Donal Sutherland, because Halle Berry is going into the NASA archives, but she wants to find out exactly what happened when she was in space with Brian, and everything went wrong for them. And Donal Sutherland comes out and goes, "Look, you shouldn't be reading that. That's top secret." And we have a great moment with him where he basically says that when they first launched, NASA launched into space, and they were going to land on the moon, they saw lots of lights on the surface of the moon, so they didn't lose their feed from the shuttle for 2 minutes. It was actually NASA turned off the feed for 2 minutes because of what they saw, and then it was deemed top secret. We found out that NASA had then been working on a device to destroy this swarm monster, but they shelved it due to budgetary cuts. But it was just a really great moment to have with Donal Sutherland, and I just really loved the narrative and the story that was giving us all about what happened with the original moon Apollo missions and that sort of thing. It was really good. We then basically skip ahead a bit, and we get to the point where Halle Berry and Halle Berry, Brian, and Casey, they're in the shuttle and they're going to take off, and we have this gigantic 50-foot tidal wave or tsunami coming towards them, but really slowly, as they're going to take off into space to try and destroy this thing. And there's a few moments where we're like on our edge of our seats because the space shuttle's being swamped by water and we can't see it, and then it just bursts out of the water and it gets into space, which was kind of cool. At this point in the film, if you're wanting to know, the son's being beaten up by a gang of guys because they want his oxygen bottles, and he's trying to find more oxygen bottles, and he's with his stepfather. And yeah, that's just going on. It's really boring and dull. They're trying to get to higher ground after he sees the launch, because he realizes this 50-foot tidal wave is now coming towards him as well. So that's just a waste of time. So then we get into space, and we have this super cool NASA like mini spaceship pod that detaches from the shuttle, and it goes into this huge chasm of a hole in the moon. And then they have to turn on the power, and as soon as they do that, it indicates, it makes the swarm aware that they're there. The swarm leaves the blue heart of the moon, and it flies over to try and get them. And we have this great little chase scene, and they're flying in and out and throughout all these huge rings of this Dyson sphere that's actually the moon. And then they get to this hangar bay. Doors closed, the swarm can't get in, and it's just really cool. It's really cool to see inside the moon and this gigantic Dyson sphere, and I just really like that crazy sci-fi that it goes to the extreme of. Effectively, once in there, they're all unconscious. The AI of the Dyson sphere scans them all, and then it starts communicating with Brian. It starts off as Brian's son, being a young boy, explaining to them about the history of their ancestors being basically humans, that they created this amazing AI, and they all lived in complete peace and tranquility on different planets that they colonized, and giant spaceships, like giant circular O's in space that were just brilliant. And it was really nice to see all that. A bit like Elysium, to be honest. It was a very, very similar feel to Elysium with these space stations. And then basically the AI deemed the ancient race of humans as no longer equal to them and lesser beings, and then it went on the mission to kill all lesser beings, biological beings that had electricity and used technology. And then the sun changes into the adult sun, and we find that this race had created multiple Dyson spheres around a blue sun core, or blue dwarf core, which then powered these Dyson spheres. And out of all the Dyson spheres, there was only one that was ready to be launched. So they launched this one Dyson sphere. None of the race got on the Dyson sphere because the AI swarm would try and destroy anything with the biological using it. So basically the entire race sacrificed themselves so that they could live on anew once the Dyson sphere had got to its new location. We see the Dyson sphere actually created the Earth by spinning around the Earth in such a way that it actually made the Earth form into what the Earth is now. And it's a guilty pleasure. It really is a guilty pleasure. The whole thing is just beyond daft in every single way. It's just so out there that it's just silly. But I just like it. I like the science fiction aspect of it. At this point in the film, if you're wondering, the sun, because the moon is so close to the Earth, it's now dragging the oxygen away from the surface of the Earth. So the stepfather sacrifices himself by giving the air tank to the son or stepson, so the stepson can live on. It's just bizarre and weird, and it didn't need to be in the film. They should have just cut it out altogether. But we find that they're going to kill, that Brian and Hallie Bailey and Casey are now going to kill the monster. What they're going to do is get back in the ship, which has been upgraded, fly out there, get the monster to chase them away from the car and explode the bomb that they have, which will kill the AI monster, but not destroy the car because it has to be a certain distance. And we go on this great chase. This happens. Casey sacrifices himself to kill the swarm. We have a very cheesy moment, to be honest, there, but it's still good. It's still good to watch. And then effectively, the Earth has been saved. In a way, the moon got so close that it destroyed and ripped off the top of mountains. It got so close, and it ripped everything out of the ground. Tsunamis ripped off everything from the surface of the Earth. There's nothing left on the planet Earth to go to. Everything's been destroyed, basically, or at least on that particular side of the Earth. But everyone's happy, and we see that Casey didn't die before his body expired. The AI on the station downloaded his consciousness into their system, so he gets to live on with the AI on the Dyson sphere. So that was MoonFall, basically. I love the film. It's a guilty pleasure. I skip a bit of it, to be honest. And if they could have do the film again, I think it would have been much better. Like I said, if they just cut out the entire side plot with the sun, got rid of that altogether, knocked it down by about half an hour to around about an hour and a half, and I think the film would have been a lot better. It's a shame we didn't do better at the cinema, because I kind of rooted for this film and I was really looking forward to it. I wasn't let down. I really enjoyed it. But I hope you like this very first of a retrospective review. I will be bringing out many more on different films. If there's a film you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you all very soon.